So I really enjoy traveling because it's something different than what a lot of people my age are doing. A lot of people my age are stressed about school and family and work and life, and I am too, obviously, but it kind of gives me that kind of escape that a lot of people don't really have the opportunity for. I think for me, it's something so different. I've flown, I've taken trains, I've taken buses, but a road trip isn't really something that I've ever done before, and it's something that really intrigued me because it's so different. I really like to do things differently than other people and different from what I'm normally used to. So I kind of stepped out of my comfort zone in that sense and started planning a road trip and just said, let's go. Absolutely not. I could not have done everything on that road trip, all the driving, the packing the car in the morning and filling up the food bin and the cooler and everything every single morning. And so it was really nice to have the people that are closest to me or that I've gotten close to recently along for the road trip, and being able to experience travel with people that I really enjoy spending time with instead of just kind of by myself. It was really nice for a change and was something that I just hadn't ever experienced before. And just being able to see the joy on their faces when we got to a new place and they were taking pictures and videos and something I'm so passionate about, that they were also passionate about it then. And it was just really cool that my hard work kind of paid off, seeing them so happy about it and so excited to go see these new places and do all these cool things. And it's something that they're gonna remember for the rest of their lives and something that I'm gonna remember for the rest of my life. And so that was really rewarding for me.
My name is Dakota Baxter. I'm currently 20 years old. And I know Dylan ever since my freshman year at Millsville University. He reached out to me via DM, wanted to be roommates. And as much as I wanted to, we couldn't switch around. But since then, we've just been staying in touch, and now we currently are roommates.
So my name is Eli Davenport. I'm 21, and I've known Dylan since we were about a year old.
Oh, okay. I'm Alex Wiest. I know Dylan because we're cousins, so I've known him since birth. And restart because I just forget the entire question.
Name, age, and how you know me.
Okay. I'm Alex Wiest. I've known Dylan since birth because I'm his younger cousin. And
name, age.
Yeah.
Give me your name and then your age, and then
okay.
how you know me.
We're good. All right. I'm Alex. Okay, I looked at the camera. It's hard not to look at the camera.
Yeah.
Right. I'm Alex. I'm 19, and I know Dylan because he's my cousin, so I've known him since birth.
My name's Dylan Wiest. I'm 20 years old, and I am Dylan, and kind of the creator of this whole idea of the road trip.
Come dance in my glow. drop and the good times don't stop.
As December came around, anticipation for the road trip started to build, and before we knew it, December 28th was here to kick off day one of our road trip. Day one was mostly driving for Eli, as he had to pick up Dakota and Alex from their houses, and pick up Dylan, who was at his Gigi and Paps. Dylan's Gigi and Pap provided everyone with Olive Garden to have one nice meal before we lived off sandwiches for the next 2 weeks. The day was capped off by driving down to Grayson, Kentucky to stay at a hotel for the night before the real fun started the next day. Day 2 involved a lot more sightseeing than day 1. After an early start, we made our way to Daniel Boone National Forest to see the Red River Gorge geological area and do the Skybridge Arch Trail. This trail had stunning views of the surrounding area and of the arch that we walked on top of and beneath. Today was kind of a rainy day, but nothing got in the way of anything we were seeing. On our way to Mammoth Cave National Park, we saw a sign for Abraham Lincoln's birthplace and decided to stop to take a look back in time to where the 16th president was born. This place was kind of different than what any of us were expecting, but still very interesting. Our main stop for the day was Mammoth Cave National Park, where we met up with my friend Ella, who I was good friends with in Prague, to take the Domes and Dripstones tour and explore one of the sections of the cave. This tour took us about 2 hours and went well below the ground to see some amazing dripstone formations and large rooms of the cave. Finally, we went to Cumberland Park to see the views and hear the sounds of downtown Nashville before heading to the hotel for the night. Day 3 started early in Nashville, but before long we were driving into Alabama, my favorite state of course. For everyone but me, it was the first time stepping foot in the state, so we had to make one stop. We decided to stop at the Alabama Welcome Center before continuing on. Our big stop for the day was Red Bluff, Mississippi, also known as the Little Grand Canyon. The layers of red and orange clay here are beautiful and are shaped by erosion from a nearby river. Walking along the top gave us amazing views, and the hike down to the bottom of the canyon was just as amazing. It was lush, green, and almost like a rainforest. After seeing the amazing sights Red Bluff had to offer, we made our way to Baton Rouge, walking on the Water Heritage Trail to see the nighttime glow of the city across the Mississippi River. On the way, I saw something I remember my grandma telling me about, graves above the ground, which I didn't take any pictures or videos of to try to be respectful. Turns out these graves, some dating back centuries, are the way they are because of the changing river levels and the inability to dig the graves under the ground. And finally, we arrived in New Iberia, Louisiana, where we called it a night before another big day tomorrow. Day 4 started off with a quick visit to the Lake Martin Loop Trail in Louisiana. It was a short and easy hike, but the scenery made it worth it. There was calm water, trees draped in moss, and plenty of wildlife. We actually spotted a great egret, which is a big white bird that's native to the area. This is actually the bird that's on Louisiana's license plate, so it kind of felt fitting to see this one while we're there. Next, we crossed into Texas and made a quick stop at the Texas Welcome Center. Behind the Welcome Center, there's a little trail, and we got lucky. There was an alligator just hanging out. It wasn't moving too much, but it was still cool to see one that close. From there, we drove to the Houston Space Center. It's one of those places you hear a lot about, so we were pretty excited, but honestly, it didn't really quite live up to the hype for us. The most memorable part was definitely the giant Boeing 747 parked outside with the Space Shuttle Independence on top of it. Also, a fun side note, the parking lot was definitely a jackpot for our license plate game. After the Space Center, we stopped at the Buffalo Bayou Park to catch some views of the Houston skyline. This was a short stop, but definitely worth it. We ended the day at my friend Jake's house. I knew him from when I worked in Georgia, and it was kind of cool to catch up and meet some of his friends. We had some really good conversations and had a great time. Although I didn't capture any video of this, it felt more personal to just kind of hang out and chat. After about an hour, we headed to our hotel to crash for the night. We kicked off day 5 in downtown Austin at the Lady Bird Lake Boardwalk. The views were nice, but we couldn't help but notice all the trash left behind from New Year's Eve celebrations. It was a little disappointing to see, but the boardwalk itself was still a cool spot to check out. Next, we stopped by the Texas Capitol and caught a glimpse of the massive Texas Longhorn Stadium along the way. The Capitol building looked impressive, but unfortunately, the grounds were closed off for construction, so we couldn't explore as much as we wanted to. From there, Eli really wanted to see the Alamo, so we made the trip to San Antonio. The Alamo is one of the most famous historical landmarks in Texas. It was originally a mission and later became the site of the famous Battle of the Alamo in 1836, where a small group of Texan defenders held off the Mexican army for 13 days. Although they ultimately lost the battle, it became a symbol of Texas's fight for independence. Honestly, it was smaller than what we expected, but it was still neat to see such a significant piece of history up that close. After that, we took a walk along the Riverwalk, which was definitely a highlight of the day. The atmosphere was charming with winding pathways, bridges, and little shops lining the water. Then came the long drive to Big Bend National Park, where we'd be spending the next day. We stayed in an off-grid cabin with limited water and electricity. This was definitely a change of pace, but added to the adventure. Driving into the park, the sunset views were some of the best I'd ever seen. And the stars, they were just unreal. Just standing there looking up at the endless sky, it was such a humbling reminder of God's vast and beautiful creation. Day 6 was all about exploring Big Bend National Park, and it was packed with incredible experiences. One of the highlights for Eli, Alex, and I was our visit to Boquillas del Carmen, Mexico. Dakota dropped us off at the river since he didn't have his passport, where he did a canyon hike that he seemed to really enjoy. The rest of us crossed into Mexico. For $5, we took a short boat ride across the Rio Grande, and from there we walked into town. On the way into town, we passed some donkeys walking themselves back to where the tourists are. For $10, you can ride a donkey into town if you don't want to walk. We decided to keep it simple and walk ourselves. Boquillas del Carmen is a small village that's deeply connected to Big Bend. Back in the early 20th century, it thrived as a mining town, but when the border crossing closed after 9/11, the population dwindled, and the town nearly disappeared. Since the crossing reopened in 2013, Boquillas del Carmen has become a popular spot for visitors to Big Bend National Park, offering a glimpse into life on the other side of the border. Once in the town, we stopped at Boquillas Restaurant, where we had tacos de cabrito, or goat tacos. They were $8 for 4 tacos, and honestly, they were some of the best tacos, at least I've ever had.
All right, Alex, what are we eating?
What are we eating?
Yep.
Tacos.
Eli, what'd you get? Some tacos in Mexico. Food review.
Alrighty.
There's tacos.
Goat tacos.
What do we think? Good?
Very good. Very good.
Eli, what do we think?
After about an hour exploring, we made our way back across the river. Next up was the Rio Grande Village Nature Trail. It was a short and easy hike, but we got to see some great views, and I even got up close to 2 donkeys along the way. After that, we hit the Lost Mine Trail, which was absolutely stunning. The trail climbs about 1,100 feet and offers some of the best views in Big Bend, especially at the top. You get these sweeping panoramas of the Chisos Mountains and the desert stretching out below. It's one of those hikes where kind of every step feels like it's building up to something amazing, and it really doesn't disappoint. We capped off the day with the Santa Elena Canyon Trail. This spot is where the Rio Grande splits the US and Mexico, carving out massive canyon walls on either side. Walking along the trail, you're surrounded by these towering cliffs, with one side in Texas and the other side in Mexico. We even had some fun tossing rocks from the US side across into the river into Mexico. It's just one of those simple things that makes you feel connected to both of the places. After all that, we headed back to the off-grid cabin. It was another incredible day in Big Bend where we were all feeling grateful for the chance to experience such a unique and beautiful place. Before the start of day 7, I figured it might be interesting just to kind of see the cabin that we were staying in. It's an off-grid cabin that we were staying at in the middle of Big Bend National Park. It was unlike anything I'd really ever stayed in before. There wasn't really much running water or electricity, so we had to be really careful while we were there. It also doesn't help when you leave the smart mirror on all day, which I was a little confused why in an off-grid cabin trying to save electricity they have a smart mirror. But anyways, we accidentally left it on when we went to the park all day, so we got back and really didn't have any electricity. Everything turned off at about 2 a.m. and we didn't get it back when we left for the morning, hence why the walkthrough is so dark. But yeah, basically we had a little sleeping room upstairs and an extra bedroom that the owner was working on, and so it wasn't too bad, but definitely not what we were used to. Day 7 started bright and early as we made our way to Carlsbad Caverns National Park for our timed cave entry. The moment we stepped inside, it was clear that this was going to be one of the highlights of the trip. The cave was absolutely massive, like a whole other world underground. The stalactites, stalagmites, and the sheer scale of the chambers were just incredible. It's kind of hard to put into words how stunning it was, you just have to experience it to understand. After Carlsbad, we headed to the Salt Flats and Guadalupe Mountains National Park. They were okay. Kinda underwhelming to be honest, but still interesting to see how this flat expanse just stretches out in such a unique landscape. Next, we made a quick stop at the Pinery Trail. It was a super short hike, but it led us to the ruins of the Butterfield Overland Mail Stage Station, which was part of a historic mail route from the late 1800s. The station was one of the stops along a critical overland mail route that connected St. Louis to San Francisco. It was kind of cool to see the remains of this piece of history tucked away in the desert. For the first time on the trip, we got to our hotel early, which gave us a chance to relax and unwind after the jam-packed days we've had before. It was much needed, and we were all ready to recharge for what was still to come. Day 8 ended up being the favorite day of the trip for all of us. We started the day at Trestle Vista Observation in Lincoln National Forest. The spot was nice with great views of the surrounding forest, but it really just set the stage for what was to come. The real adventure was ahead of us. Next, we went to Tunnel Vista, where we hiked to the observation point. Well, actually, we took the wrong trail, which turned into kind of a wild experience. We slid down this huge rock pile using a rope, hopping over creeks, and eventually made it to the waterfall. The waterfall was absolutely stunning, and Dakota was brave enough to jump in. At this point, Eli had decided to head back to the car, which in hindsight was probably a smart choice, although the waterfall was definitely worth it. The hike back up was a whole other challenge, especially for me, because I only had one hand to balance and a camera in the other. I even took a fall, and somehow Alex found a path that led him up super fast. But when we finally made it to the car, Eli was up there waiting, and we were greeted by a surprise Corvette meet that had pulled up. I managed to get some cool shots of the cars and watched as they revved their engines and roared off into the mountains. After all the excitement of that hike, we then drove to White Sands National Park, and this place was just incredible. The landscape was unlike anything we'd ever seen before, and it felt like something from another world. White Sands covers about 275 square miles and is made up of stunning gypsum sand dunes, which is what makes it so unique. The sand is bright white because of the fine gypsum crystals, a mineral that comes from the water that once covered the area. The dunes are constantly shifting with the wind, which creates a landscape that feels completely alive and always changing. We spent hours running up and down the dunes, racing each other, and even running barefoot. The sand felt pretty soft and powdery and didn't really stick to you, so it was amazing. It was like we were walking on a completely different planet. Along the way, we found a .50 caliber airplane round bullet, which was buried in the sand, which was kind of crazy and an unexpected find. The wind and sandstorms added to the drama of the place, and it honestly made the entire experience feel even more wild. We also got to see the sunset there. As the sun dipped behind the dunes, the sky turned vibrant with colors of pink and orange, casting a kind of glow over the entire landscape. The whole park seemed to transform with the changing light, and it was definitely one of the coolest national parks we'd ever been to. After spending a solid 4 hours at White Sands, we made our way to Las Cruces, where we checked into our hotel. Exhausted, but full of memories from what was the best day of our trip. We first started with a brief stop at the Oregon Mountains Desert Peaks National Monument. This was just a short stop as the entrance was closed for the winter. We then went to Three Rivers Petroglyph site in New Mexico. This place is home to over 21,000 petroglyphs. These ancient rock carvings were made by the early Native American people, specifically the Jornada Mogollon culture. The petroglyphs here depict animals, people, and symbols, giving us a glimpse into the lives of those who lived in the area around 500 years ago. It was pretty cool to see these images so well preserved and to think about how they've survived through the centuries. After that, we made our way to the Malpais Nature Trail, which wasn't too far from the petroglyph site. The trail runs through lava fields, which are remnants of volcanic eruptions from around 1,000 years ago. The name Malpais translates to Badlands in Spanish. The rugged landscape created by the lava flow was both stunning and a bit harsh. The contrast of the jagged rocks and the desert environment made it pretty unique to explore, and the trail gave us a chance to walk through it and take in the scenery. We even got to hike on some of the dried lava, which was pretty cool. After all that, we had about 7 more hours of driving to reach Fort Worth, Texas. When we got to our hotel, though, things took a pretty frustrating turn. The hotel staff there could not find my reservation for the life of them, and for what felt like forever, I went back and forth trying to get it sorted out. I think I spent about 2 hours on the phone with Expedia trying to get everything straightened out. Finally, they were somehow able to work it out, but man, that was a nightmare. After all the driving, we were exhausted, and I just wanted to go to sleep. Day 10 started with a quick visit to Dealey Plaza in Dallas, the site of JFK's assassination in 1963. It was a chilly day, so we didn't hang around too long, but it was still powerful to stand in a place with so much history. After that, we drove to Hot Springs, Arkansas, where we made our first stop at the Hot Springs Tower. The views from the tower were nice, but honestly, the $11 per person fee didn't really seem too worth it. It was cold, and the sights weren't that great. We were more curious about the next part of our visit, which was the Grand Promenade Trail. It was a nice walk through the historic district, but by that point we were feeling kind of ready to move on. While we were in the area, we decided to try out the hot springs water for ourselves. We saw people filling up large jugs and we figured it was worth a shot. Let's just say it was not that great. We couldn't really understand why so many people were hauling massive jugs of water, but hey, I guess it's part of the experience. To wrap up the day, we checked out the visitor center, which was kind of set up like an old bathhouse, a look into the hot springs history as a popular spa town. After that, we got to the hotel pretty early, giving us a little more time to relax before our next long day. Day 11 was mostly about driving, but we did have a few fun stops along the way. Our first was the Bass Pro Pyramid in Memphis, which is this massive indoor complex inside a former sports arena. It's kind of got everything, an indoor swamp, an observation deck with views of the city that was unfortunately closed because of the weather, and of course, a huge Bass Pro Shop. Alex and Dakota grabbed some merch to remember the experience. Next, we couldn't leave Memphis without grabbing some barbecue at Central Barbecue downtown. Hands down, it was the best barbecue I've ever had, and I think the completely clean plates spoke for themselves. And of course, we made sure to play some rap music while we were in Memphis. It just kind of felt like the right thing to do. From there, we pushed on to Pigeon Forge, where we were all pretty wiped out. So we went straight to our hotel for the night to get some rest before the next day's adventure. Day 12 was our second to last day, and we made our way to the Great Smoky Mountains in Tennessee. Unfortunately, most of the roads were closed because of the snow and ice, but we still made the best of it. Our first stop was called The Sinks, which is a set of waterfalls. It was a peaceful spot with the water flowing powerfully despite the wind chill. Since most of the park was off limits, we decided to take the Cades Cove Scenic Loop, which was one of the only roads open in the park. It turned out to be a pretty good choice as the views are really good, even with the snow on the ground. However, we quickly learned just how slow Mississippi drivers can be on these narrow, winding roads. We ended up passing about 8 cars on a one-way road because they were just driving way too slow. Still, we made the most of it and enjoyed enjoy the drive. Then we made our way up to Beckley, West Virginia, where we hoped to see New River Gorge, but we weren't sure yet. It was a slower day than expected, but still a memorable one in the Smokies. On day 13, we left our hotel in Beckley, West Virginia, hoping to visit New River Gorge and Shenandoah National Park, but both were closed due to ice. The weather didn't cooperate, and with that, we decided to make our way home and drop everyone off. As we drove, it was hard not to reflect on everything we'd seen, the places, the people, and the adventures. From the deserts of Big Bend to the vast dunes of white sands, from the waterfalls in the Smokies to the history of the Alamo, it was a journey that took us across the incredible country, revealing so many sides of it that we hadn't expected. What started off as just a road trip became something a lot bigger. It was a chance for us to explore, connect, and experience the world in a way that we really hadn't before. Whether it was the breathtaking views, the weird adventures, or the moments of just pure spontaneity, each day brought something new. Boundless isn't just a name for the documentary. It's a reminder to me and everyone that there's always more out there to discover, and that the road never really ends. Here's to the next adventure, wherever it takes us.